Welcome back, family, friends, fans, all two of you. Leanne Caruso, my co-host, and Michael Heim, your host, your co-host.
Oh my God. Every time.
are back here with another edition of LFG. Leanne, how's it going, Leanne?
It's going great. You look tan.
I do.
Where did
Yeah,
you go? We both took vacations.
we did. Not together.
Your tan kicked in better than my tan. But
sorry, I'm looking and I'm trying to find where it ends.
tan
For those
for
of you
me.
that I'm saying I'm looking, the podcast is offered on YouTube, of course, as a video cast, so you can see Leanne's beautiful tan. And mine, I was in Miami with the family. Yeah, we went there for a week, and summer vacation. It's funny. I hear this all the time. People run away from Miami in June, and I run to Miami in June only because of the heat. But I guess it's a Canadian thing, or maybe not. We just love the heat. How about you?
Maybe it is a Canadian thing because I run away from Miami like anytime. I don't like Miami.
Really?
No, I don't.
Why don't you like Miami?
I just don't like it. It's too crowded and I don't like it. There's other parts of Florida I like better. But I went to the Bahamas.
Oh, nice.
For a
Let me
whole
act
week.
like I didn't know that. Wow, Leanne.
Shocking.
I was just kidding, but I don't know how the trip was. I obviously, you told me you had a great time.
I did have a great time. I was very relaxed, hung out by the pool, ate, drank too much, but it was amazing. Nothing else to do other than hang by the pool, played a little golf. Well, I drove a golf cart, and it was great. A lot of fun. Very relaxing.
Well, that's great. We deserve it. I mean, a week, right? Once a year. Jeez.
Right. Well, except right after this, I'm driving to the Keys for a week.
Oh my gosh. Excuse me. After my trip, I came back with like a tiny bit of a cold, and it's just lingering towards the end here. As I scoffed at your second vacation in 2 weeks. Oh, life must be tough, Leanne. Life must be tough.
It's exhausting.
Anyways, let's not bore our two listeners.
Right. Sorry, Karen.
Tell us. Shout out to Karen.
Shout out to Karen.
Love her. Thank you, Karen, for always listening to us.
Yes. I'm excited. Today we have Dave Hansen, CEO of ClientTether, and Keith Levenson, VP of Franchise Growth from ClientTether. And we're going to talk about franchise development strategies that you can implement right now. How was that?
That was great. I'm actually super excited before we get Dave on, and I guess he'll hear this when he hears the replay. But Dave spoke, as you know, at Let's Grow. Were you in the session?
I saw part of it.
You saw part of it. Yeah.
Someone had to work.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to say it was work listening to Dave because that would be a shot to the gut. Dave was phenomenal. He is a very eloquent speaker. You guys are going to hear him in about 10 minutes from now. I thought his session was fantastic. He is a wealth of information, and just super excited to have him on. As a matter of fact, excited. If you missed him at Let's Grow in Dallas, he is going to be back to Let's Grow in Toronto in November, and they've also signed back up for Let's Grow in Dallas again in February of 2025. So happy to have him back on, and definitely looking forward to this talk.
Yeah, he really is a naturally talented speaker. Like he's very, very good at what he does. So he's going to be great.
Well, Leanne, thanks for forgetting about Keith, because Keith is going to be on too,
I said Keith in the beginning.
Keith, one of us loves you, brother. Here she's going on and on about Dave. It's like, oh my gosh.
Oh,
Keith is my favorite. He is the,
wow.
the
Favorite.
nicest, warmest, most funny, polite, intelligent. Keith, we love you, brother.
We do love Keith, and he's very good at karaoke. Actually, they're both very good at karaoke. Probably Dave might be better, but Keith is fun at karaoke.
Just shooting Keith down, Leanne. That's
We
that.
love Keith. Stop. Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
grow.
So here's what's growing on. Of course, this segment sponsored by Franchise Assembly, a
Love this.
franchise events company bringing resources and education to franchise brands and people. So I'll kick it off, Leanne, if you don't mind. This one is great. What's growing on? Listen up for all of you chicken wing lovers, and we know there's a lot of you out there. Personally, I love chicken wings. East Coast Wings and Grill celebrates National Chicken Wing Day by giving away a year of free wings. And who doesn't like wings? Oh my. Anyways, so July 11th to August 11th, wing enthusiasts can compete in the Chicken Wing Championship contest. Download the East Coast Wings and Grill app and earn points on the Flavor Passport. 3 winners per location will be selected August 12th to win gold, silver, and bronze, gift cards, and free chicken wings all year long. Leanne, what do you think about that?
I love it. Sounds yummy.
Are you a chicken wing fan?
Ish.
Stop! Don't answer that. Hold on. Sorry. This just came. Swear this just came to me. I know you are because I remember one time we had dinner and you ordered the worst, most disgusting chicken wings. I was like, let's get the wings. And then you said, yeah, let's get the rub. Is it?
The dry rub.
And it was the dry rub. Folks, you heard her. She likes the dry rub. And yeah, they were just horrible. I mean, those specific ones.
Those specific ones were not good, but regular dry rub wings are actually very good.
I can't. I know that.
All right, we're moving on.
We're moving. What do you have growing on, Leanne?
Home Watch Caregivers wins Franchise Updates Franchise Innovation Award for Operations and Technology Leadership. Can't read. They were recently named one of the overall award winners of Franchise Update's annual Franchise Innovation Awards in the category of Franchise Operations and Technology Leadership. They introduced its Total Care Solutions, a program that customizes care to meet the specific needs of its clients while also utilizing technology to provide care when a staffer is not in the home. It's pretty cool. The program was born out of a desire to deliver personalized care while also addressing the issue that more than 60% of a population reports feeling of isolation and loneliness. HomeWatch's Total Care Solutions focuses on ensuring the amount and type of care meets the specific needs of the individual receiving care. Congrats, HomeWatch caregivers and all of the other award winners who at FLDC.
Love it. And yeah, I guess that's coming up in October.
Oh, FCXC, my bad.
Oh, just kidding. FLDC, I don't even know that. Just kidding. Great. FCXC, yes. So hey, I got something else. I came across this was pretty interesting for us LinkedIn junkies. LinkedIn now offers sponsored articles and newsletter articles. Company pages can post sponsored articles organically or as thought leader ads. Sponsored newsletter articles currently being rolled out are limited to company authored content posted organically by company pages. These can only be used for brand awareness and engagement campaigns. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I might post an article, you might post an article, but all of our company post pages can now post newsletters and articles as well. So you don't have to see our mugs. You can, see the the intelligent side of things, the company page.
The company page. That's very cool. LinkedIn is also rolling out company page verification badges soon to select organizations. So that's also cool. Big LinkedIn news this week.
There you go. And so how are they going to verify the company page? I wonder.
We'll find out and share that information later.
Because the individual, I'll tell you, when they wanted to verify me, and I'm a Canadian, so unfortunately,
You're
I didn't qualify
unverifiable.
to be. I'm unverifiable through LinkedIn now. Well, originally I wasn't. I tried again. I tried again later on, and I still couldn't do it through the Canadian thing. But what's the when you go through the border, not the TSA, not the pre-check, but there's
Oh,
something else.
clear.
Clear. So
Yes.
Clear is only for US citizens, and I
Yeah.
unfortunately don't have that. And then when I tried their Canadian thing, it also didn't work for me.
Mm.
So, anyways,
I'm verified.
are you?
Yeah.
Do you have a check mark by your name?
Yeah. Because I have
Wow.
clear and I'm US.
Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Leanne Caruso. Here we
There you
go.
go.
uh,
All right. If you want to share what's going on in your world, send us an email to podcast@franchiseassembly.com and we may or may not read it.
most likely not, because Leanne has a really heavy screening process,
It's very
and
heavy.
it's it's
Tough.
tough. But if you make it through, you've made it.
All right. We're about to talk about Franchise Royals, which is sponsored by Tenant Financial Group. Hey, Michael, why don't you tell us about Tenant Financial Group?
Tenant Financial, love them. Okay.
Love them.
Unlock your franchising potential with Tenant Financial Group, where they treat you individually, crafting tailored funding packages to suit your unique situation. They are here to fund your franchise so you can focus on growing your dreams. From your innovative ROBS 401k funding to SBA loans, leasing, and a range of other loan products, they are your partner in successfully funding your franchise. Visit tenantfinancialgroup.com today and experience the difference. Tenant Financial Group, your trusted partner where franchise funding is simple, transparent, and honest. As always, shout out to our good friends, Lindsay, Sam, and Derek, and everybody else at Tenant. We love you. Leanne, who's your franchise royal of the week?
My franchise royal of the week, Michael, thank you for asking, is Jeff Horst. And this is super cool. He got a hole-in-one at CFA's Golf for Advocacy Day. And he's not a big golfer, so he says, and he got his first hole-in-one, and there were a bunch of people to watch and enjoy and bask in his glory. So I think that's pretty cool.
Shut the front door. That is awesome. I have unfortunately never hit a hole in one ever.
Well,
But maybe one day. Do you know what he won? I mean, obviously he won some kind of a big prize, no?
no, because it wasn't the $10,000 hole.
Kidding me. Wow.
He won the glory and honor of getting a hole-in-one.
Did the CFA give him anything?
I don't know that part.
CFA, we're calling you out. You better go give Jeff a
I'm just
present.
proud of Jeff. I think that's so cool.
I'm just kidding. Lou, if you're listening, Lou, our friends Lou at the CFA, go send Jeff a prize.
Because Michael says so. Who is your franchise royal of the week?
This is a great one. I just saw this on LinkedIn actually. My franchise royal is Trevor. Trevor Rapoli, and Trevor. Hopefully I'm not bastardizing your last name. I've known you for years and years, and I've never really said your last name before. But Trevor, I gotta call you out, man, because call you out in a good way. Normally when someone leaves a company, some people will have sour grapes, or they're not necessarily happy about it, or they just won't highlight the fact. On the other hand, you went out and if my memory wasn't a sieve, I would remember who we were calling out, so I could wish her a fond farewell as well. But you wrote all the good things that she did, all the accomplishment, how she's assisted with growing the company, and all of her contributions, and I really thought that that was commendable, and I love it, and of course, just showing the good side of everything we do. So congrats, Trevor. You are the franchise king this week. One of the two of them. Love you too, Jeff, by the way.
Oh, she's great. Thea.
What?
Thea. She helped us with
Yeah.
Let's Grow. She was the ringleader for the Let's Grow filming that they did for us and all of our video work. And she's pretty amazing. Love her.
Yeah, we did. Thea, fond farewell. All right, so before we head into our show and tell segment, here's a message from our friend Karen Wenning at Subtle Strauss. So,
franchisors love Subtle Strauss because we protect their brand standard across all marketing channels. Z's love our marketing platform because they can customize, print, download, and mail brand right collateral for their local market in minutes. Want to see how it works? Connect with me, Karen Wenning, on LinkedIn.
So, time for show and tell. This segment, of course, is meant to be a show and tell. Our guests will drop some phenomenal knowledge around their industry, best practices, ideas, thought leadership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Today, we're talking about strategies to improve your franchise development funnel that you can implement right now. We have on here the boys, Dave Hansen, CEO, ClientTether, and Keith Levenson, VP of Franchise Growth, ClientTether.
Thanks for having us on, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Dave, I've had the pleasure of being on your podcast, and thanks for having me there. So we were actually just talking earlier about what an eloquent speaker you are and how good you are in front of people. And then there's Keith. So then we're sure this is going to be a great conversation.
You did that earlier, by the way, Keith. You did that earlier.
I did that.
Wow.
We love Keith.
And unfortunately, he brought Keith with him too, folks. So.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming on. I'll just have you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves instead of us reading a bio. So tell us about you and your experience in franchising and what you guys do. I'll start with you, Dave.
Oh, darn, I was going to pitch it over to Keith. All right. Well, I mean, I like long walks on the beach. Where should I start? I went to elementary school, and no, I'm just joking.
That's a good place to start.
The worst when you're running a podcast, right? Someone wants to tell my life story. I've been selling stuff since I was 5, though. I snuck out of the house and started going door to door. I've been leading sales teams for like 20 something years, and been in franchising for 6. I got recruited to come and help run ClientTether from a friend who's founded multiple brands, and he's like, "I need your help," and I've loved this space. But I've been impressed and a little disgusted in many ways with like how backwards sales are and how backwards strategies are in this industry. So that it keeps all of us busy, though. So I mean, I'm grateful for it, but certainly appreciate you giving us a chance to share some thoughts on that. And ClientTether, if you don't know, leading franchise development CRM, fastest growing, highest rated. That's the only promotion you'll hear from me through the whole thing today, I promise.
Awesome. Keith.
Now the other guy.
The other guy.
Well, I'm Keith Levenson. I'm vice president of franchise growth here at ClientTether. My 10-year anniversary in the franchise world, 2014. I walked into the Javits Center wearing cargo shorts and a t-shirt and a baseball hat with some postcards in my pocket of this crazy climbing gym that I was associated with, trying to figure out if this thing was franchisable. And luckily met some really cool people that were really kind and actually took pity on me because I looked like the biggest schmuck in the world walking through there. And were actually really nice to me. And 10 years later, here I am with Dave and trying to help people with their process and how they do things and how they communicate with their leads. Because as we all know, lead flow has been down for the solid 18 months, almost going on 2 years now. So leads are even more expensive than they were. So how are we touching them? How are we making them get through that funnel properly?
That's great. You and I have been
here with people I like and Dave.
You and I have had the opportunity.
Sorry, Keith, you're gonna have to tell me. Is there 2 seconds? So you said you start when you first went to the Javits. I'm assuming you went to IFE and you had a business that you wanted to franchise.
Yeah, we had this crazy climbing gym that was based out of New Zealand called Climb Zone. Still around. There's a few locations around, and the owner didn't have any idea how he was going to scale it. His goal was to become an international business person. And people kept coming into the place saying, "Is this a franchise?" And we literally Googled franchising and licensing because neither of us knew what the difference was. And franchising had that operational control aspect to it. And this was, these are 30-foot tall walls that looked like the Eiffel Tower or Mount Rushmore that little kids could climb. So there's that safety aspect. And we're like, we need to have operational control of this. And so we decided to franchise. And I hopped on a train and went to New York and literally walked into booths, and I would pull out the postcard and say, "I represent this business. Can you tell me if it's a franchisable business?" And some people were cool, like Lane Fisher and Brad Fishman, were two of the first people I met, and Mark Siebert from my franchise,
Nice.
Dave Hood from my franchise, and they took pity on me and put their arm around me and said, "Come here, let me teach you a few things, son."
That's great.
If you're going to run
That's
into
really
4
cool.
people in franchising that could help you at that stage, you were pretty lucky, man. Those are
Right.
some of the greats. Yeah.
Right? Like you talk about total ignorance and like walking down a street in New York, and instead of stepping in human excrement, I walked into that environment and stepped into that. Like had no clue who I was even talking to. Like didn't realize who these folks were until later on, and it's like, wow. You talk about dumb luck.
Mhm.
Dumb. Bing, bing, bing. Poster child.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny. I think I saw. You must have been at a trade show. I think I've seen like the walls at a franchise show, maybe like a year or two later.
Oh yeah,
I
we
don't
used to
know.
go to the Javits Center and had a booth and had people climbing, or had
There
our
we go.
had a
Okay.
Statue of Liberty wall there. She was holding her torch, which lit up and was on Fox and Live from at 5:30 in the morning once at the Javits, which is always great after that first happy hour for suppliers. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. Luckily, I don't like to stay out late, so.
Right. Right.
Sure.
All right. Well, so you guys see the ins and outs of all things franchise development because of your viewpoint from the CRM side. So, and Dave, I think you just, or Keith, you just mentioned that leads have been down for the last couple of years. So what are you seeing in terms of what channels that people are using, and, or what do you recommend are the best channels to be using if people aren't using those channels?
Yeah, no, it's a smart question. I'll go first, Keith. Please add anything you'd like to as well. Lead channel diversity is it's mission critical right now, and even more so. I think we'll talk about some of the regulatory changing that's going to totally poop on the portal lead industry right now, which is not fun. But thanks, government, for that. But anyway, it's really important that you've got multiple channels that you're monitoring and also measuring. Monitor and measure; those are the keywords you'll hear out of us, and it's because they change. Like if you're using portals, so for some reason, like they're all doing pretty much similar things, but the lead quality in one portal will dip for 3 or 4 months and then they'll fix it. In the meantime, another one will get better. And you've got to be watching these things and then divesting the money you put into one thing and then investing it where it's having results. So lead diversity isn't just about just throwing spaghetti on 4 walls. It's about not throwing spaghetti at all. It's about measuring exactly what's happening in those channels. And then making sure that you're putting money where it's giving you the best results. Like things like shows. Like a lot of the people I work with, they go to shows, and I ask them which shows work best for them, and they say, I don't know. And I say, well, stop wasting your money, start measuring. So go to the same shows, measure, and then the ones that have the biggest yield, they go hang out with Michael right at one of his events, and then they have great results, and then they know I'm going to go to more of Michael's events because I get better results, right? So that's having a good mix. Everyone's got to be doing the basics, right? There's blocking and tackling. Your SEO's got to be solid. Stop writing content with blind AI. Make sure it's high quality, or you'll just get your content delisted from Google now. So Leanne can speak way better to that than I can. But so SEO has got to be solid. So your PPC can be solid, and then you've got to have a social presence. Facebook marketing can be freaking awesome if you use the targeting and you've got the right lookalike audience on the back end with a large enough database behind it. Like there's a lot, but the point is looking into those different channels. Social's working great. Portals can work great if you have the right size of a brand of investment. If you're trying to build restaurants, post an ad on Biz Buy Sell, but don't buy leads from portals because they just don't have the investment capacity most do. So those are a couple of things that we see right now. But the keyword is just diversify and measure.
I think too, Dave, it's about brand messaging now too. You've got to have a good brand message and be okay with adding yourself onto YouTube or TikTok or Instagram Reels. Like, don't think about it just from that one-to-one perspective of dollar spent, dollar in. Like, build that brand, put that data, put that information out there and personalizing it. Like one of the things that we always talk about with our clients is that initial email that goes back once that form is submitted should have a 30-second video of the person that's going to be the first point of contact. You need to begin to personalize the relationship that you're trying to build with this prospect immediately. The data has been clear for many, many years. Why did you buy this opportunity as opposed to this? The people at the brand. the people I'm going to be involved with. Well, if we're in the people business, which we all are, sorry to tell you if you didn't realize that, if you don't like people, you might want to look at a different opportunity. But if you are in the people business, introduce yourself as a person, allow them to understand that there is a human being here. Break it down into that level, and now you'll be amazed at how much faster someone can move through the funnel once they realize that it's not just a robot on the other end. But you got to build that brand message. You got to put it out there. You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, I don't really like to message my customer base to let them know I'm a franchise. Why not? They're your biggest cheerleader. Right?
Yeah.
Like they're the one who's coming back to your business. That they've filled out a form to say, give me points when I buy a burrito from you. Right? Like they love your food. They give you your email address, and then they maybe they were visiting your location in North Carolina, but they live in Texas, or they live, or whatever it might be. That email will follow them around, give them an opportunity to bring that to their community. That's a diversification of your opportunity funnel that people they're afraid almost to ask for it, but you can do it in a very calm way. You don't have to be like, woohoo, we're a franchise, come buy a franchise. No, put a little note on a newsletter, put it at the bottom of your receipt, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
one
I
makes me crazy when consumer marketing doesn't allow the advertising of the franchise to the lowest hanging fruit, right? It's like these are the people who are passionate about your brand. They're your raving fans, and you're not going to ask them to buy a franchise. Like that doesn't make any sense to me, but
Not at
yeah.
all. Well, it's like
So-
the Jersey Mike's study, right? Where they're like, well, who are our best performing franchisees? The ones that were the raving fans about the brand.
Mhm.
And so if you have to ask yourself, you know, this is not going to be a marketing 201 podcast, right? But like, you have to understand, like, who are your raving fans, your love group, right? Your ideal client profile. And then how do you access them? Well, guess what? You're sitting on a list of them, like they're your clients, and they'll operate the best. And then creating private channels is the only other thing I'd add to this convo is podcast. Create a private channel. Get user groups going, talk to your customers. Like, you own channels, create channels, and that way you can create evergreen content you can share. And like, that's just super important now. A lot of people aren't doing it, and it's super easy. We're doing it right now, the four of us, right? So yeah, that's the only other thing I'd add is create some private channels that nobody can compete with you in.
I love
so
that.
true. Yeah, and I like you said, we don't want to make this a marketing podcast, but on that thought, I hate the opposite. You know, when I see the ads for the franchisors and they're doing consumer advertising, you know, it you won't believe it, but it happens so much. Like, you know, say you're you know looking at selling a franchise of a bar, you know, and you have the ads of all the people partying, you know, well, you're not targeting college kids that are looking to go drink, you know, you're you're advertising you know, all the reasons why someone should get a bar, not a bunch of drunk people. So it's funny how that marketing works.
Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, true marketing dissonance there, right?
Yeah, but one of the most important things, of course, is the lead follow-up, right? And I could talk about this all day. You know, from everything and anything. You know, I'm going to assume that everyone knows already that you do need to follow up because common sense isn't so common these days. And I got to be honest, like sometimes even with the franchise show, you know, I have guys who are like, well, you know, Mike, the show didn't work. Nobody called me back. And I'm like, you did collect leads and call them, right? And he's like, no, was I supposed to? And I promise you, I kid you not, and I'm not going to mention any names, but that happens. So let's assume that everyone knows you need to follow up. What do you sing on that front, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many tools out there, and we're not going to make this about the a certain brand that can really help you with that, but you know, like there are so many opportunities to utilize technology today, and it's not the barrier to it isn't what it used to be, where there was massive amounts of implementation that was very difficult, and the integrations were hard. Like there are out of the box solutions that are very easily used, and they can help you take some of the lift off of your shoulders, especially like if you're a micro emerging or emerging brand, especially there's a lift that you have to or that you have to consider, right? Because you wear 12 hats all day long, plus the operation of your existing unit, which funds your franchise opportunity. So how do you make yourself the most efficient in that way? You automate what you can automate, right? And so that follow-up piece, like at your shows, Michael, which I've been to many times myself. I've stood in the booth myself, right? To have a form that I can have you fill out in front of me, where I can type in your name, your address, or your phone number and your email address and hit send. And then I can get in see their phone lights up because the text message just got sent to them. Like, that is not difficult to do. That takes minutes, not hours. And now I've already got them into a sequence of automations that while I'm talking to the next 12 people for the next 2 days in a booth, they're getting hit with information about our brand. They're getting an email that has a link to it from the founder that says, hey, leaving a W-2 job is scary. It scares all of us. That's a relatable idea that people can understand who are thinking about leaving their job and coming into the franchise space. So think about follow-up from, how can this make me more efficient? How can I provide value to the person that's on the other end that makes them want to continue to connect with me and my opportunity? Because if they're looking at you, right, industry statistics have been clear. They're looking at you, they're looking at between 3 and 4 other brands. They're doing a comparison. They're not just buying your brand. So find ways to make yourself more valuable and make your time more optimized. But by finding in that the channels are simple, right? It's email, it's texting, and it's calling. And it's kind of in that sequence. Text is the most viewed way of reaching someone. 90% of text messages are read within the first 3 minutes of receipt. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong on the stat, it's like 78% of all text messages, or no, is it 78 or 88% of all text messages are read before the end of the day? Like, only 12% of people go to bed without having read all their texts, but it's the inverse on an email. Like 12% of the population goes to bed with having read all their emails, right? So email's important, but not vital. Texting is a critical piece to your puzzle to follow up. And yeah, Michael, I've been at your shows and I see people like writing things down on paper, and I go like, oh,
Yeah.
there's so many other ways.
Yeah. I'd
What are
say,
your,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask, because you guys have insight into this and so many brands that are on your platform. I know there's been reports on, contacting your customer within 4 hours, within 12 hours. What's the ClientTether perspective?
Can I take this one, Keith? Is that all right?
Oh yeah,
Listen, if you want to piss me off, you tell me that you should call a lead 4 hours after they tell you they want to talk to you. Like, that is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. This is the only industry in the world that operates that way. The only one. I've consulted in like 12 industries. I've worked in a bunch of industries before this. Everyone operates on the same playbook. It's like 5 minutes or less because there's data. But we're all operating on this data that they're publishing every year, and it's bullcrap because they can't track the data that they need to track to tell you what actually needs to happen. So I just want to say it loud and clear. I'll say it again and again. I'll be less PC here because I'm not on a stage in front of a bunch of people, but like, you got to get your crap together and start calling your leads within 5 minutes. Because if you wait 10 minutes, then the likelihood of you getting on the phone with them drops 10 times. So you want to make your team 90% less efficient, wait 4 hours. Because what happened, it's just think about it logically. Let's say I want to buy a car, or let's say I want to know more about your show, Michael. I want to talk to you about getting you to be a CMO, a fractional CMO for me, Leanne. I fill out a form. I'm a busy person. Everybody's busy. So am I sitting there for 30 minutes, 4 hours, just like, oh, I sure hope Leanne calls me? Boy, no, I fill out the form, and then I fill out 3 more forms because I don't have time to wait. And I go back to work, and I'm in meetings for 4 hours. And guess what? You try to call me 5 hours later, and I'm done for the day, or I'm in a meeting with a client, like, or I'm on a plane somewhere. Like, you don't know where people are going to be, so you can't pretend like it's the field of dreams. Seriously, the franchise industry operates like field of dreams. Like, well, I'm open for business. I heard somebody once tell me, they're like, yeah, Dave, but I don't follow up on all those leads. If they don't call me back, then they're not a good lead. And I was like, are you serious right now? Is it 1983? Like, who are you, you idiot? Like, it was, I won't say any names, but I was like, this is so dumb. So if you want to get me going, like, you already got me going, that you can tell that, but like, get on top of your leads fast, because they have so many options and it's so easy to fill out lead forms now. You also interrupt their investigative process, right? You have to talk to them first, or have the most meaningful conversation first, because that predicts like 65% of who's going to win the deal with that person. You got to connect, like Keith was saying, like a human, and you got to do that fast. So texting is great. Emailing is great. Get on the dang phones. I've heard people tell me, like, we don't need to call people anymore. Wrong. Dead wrong. We've helped people literally triple their conversion rates. It's a brag. This isn't going to be a long chest beat, but just because we helped them implement a sequence that optimizes conversion. Immediate email with a video message of the human that's going to talk to them, a text from the human that's going to talk to them. Well, it's automated, but it says it is, right? Within minutes, and then a call within minutes of that text. That's a change that's got to happen now. All the software and the AI on your phones now, your Androids and your Apple phones, it's trying to prevent spam callers. If you don't text first and then call within a couple of minutes, like the iOS and the Android app, it'll say probably so-and-so if you've texted them first and told them who you are, even if they haven't seen your text yet and the phone rings and it says probably so-and-so. It looks like a lot more legit call than just a random probable spam, right? Because you don't know who that person is calling you. So little things like this make a huge difference. And I'm done with my soapbox now. Thank you.
That's a cool trick. Before we move on to the next one, Keith, you said something earlier, and I love this tactic. So I just want you to dive into it just a little bit more. Is the first email that comes out is actually like a video of the person that they're going to be talking to. I know you do this, or have done this in other organizations, but can you kind of talk through that? Because I think that's just, it's like such a brilliant idea. Like it's obvious, but I don't think most people do it.
Yeah, and you're right. It's really easy. Like you can get on Zoom and hit record, and then take that data file and put it into an email, embed it in an email, use Vidyard, Loom, whatever it is. But yeah, just quick 30, 40 seconds. Hey, thanks so much for filling out our form. We're really excited to have a conversation with you. Ask them what's your ask going to be, right? We really love to get onto an in-depth call with you. Please fill out my calendar links right below this video. Click on that and book an appointment today. And we're gonna really love having more conversations with you, whatever it is. But thanking them for filling out your form, telling them who you are, and again, what's the call to action? And then if you've got a sequence set up like ours, you're gonna hit them with. And if you're utilizing ClientTether and you're listening to this, put in there, and you're gonna get a phone call from this face in 2 minutes. Well, maybe not this face, because that might turn people off, but maybe put a nicer face on. I'm stuck with this. Everybody else isn't. So, but say, hey, like this is who's going to be calling you. Like, and now again, and even if the president or the CEO wants to do a short founders video, thanks so much. We're really excited having people come into our franchise. Something that says, hey, this isn't just a business transaction. This is a human connection that we're going to make. It's super important to start that right away. And when you hit that submit button, as consumers, we're all like this now. We want to know that the brand or whoever it is that we hit submit got our information. And that's why the immediate email back is really important, right? And then if you've got other pieces of the puzzle, you can hit that too. But that immediate, hey, yep, we got your information. We know we're going to be in touch with you soon. Or, hey, here's who I am. It's just a really great way to start that process of developing the relationship.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so
no specific stats or anything. I don't need hard facts, but how often do you find that the video works more than just a standard email?
Can I share some stats on that? If you embed
Sure,
video
you
in your
got it.
email, it'll 3x your engagement rate of your email. That's that's a great industry stat. So when I first got into this industry, I'll share a personal anecdote. I went through the IFA registration list, and rather than do what a lot of suppliers do, where they just email bomb everyone, and then suppliers are getting emails from you like, you idiot. Like I found like 200 people, and I was like, these are people that are actually sweet spot for me. I'm going to send them a cold email introducing myself. So I sent them an email, and I'll even share the subject line. It was there for, you got to tokenize the first name into the subject line. That'll increase your open rates 20%. It's like 19.8, but it's 20%. So first name, token, video message from Dave. That was it. And then the first email was just a, hey, so-and-so, like I want to see if we can meet each other at the show. I'm looking forward to it. Here's a quick video from me, and I'll see you in Orlando. Orlando was actually the first franchise show I ever went to. So that's all I sent. And out of 200 people, 84 people watched the video. So my open rate was ridiculous on that cold email that I sent out, but the click-through rate was off the charts. And it's because the subject line was aligned. It was interesting. It was personalized. And just take note, these are key things for any email campaign, right? Personalized and interesting. And then the content was video rich. And it was just fun. It was like a 60-second, hey, this is me. I think I might have been like on a ski slope, or I was somewhere interesting. So make your videos interesting. Use animated GIFs if you can. Use a tool like a Loom or a Bomb. I use Vidyard. I've been using it for 7 years. You can use it for free if you want. Up to 25 videos are hosted in your own private channel. Super sweet. But then you can embed the animated GIF of your thumbnail. So they open the email and there's this guy waving at them. They're like, who's that guy? Do I know Dave? Click, boop. And that's how I got people to watch. But that process works well. You just have to know how to engage people in the medium.
It's really cool. Yeah, and thanks for those tips. And I love that you have the stats like just handy. So speaking of stats and data, what the data that you have and that you find from the different omni-channel approach and the diversity that you use, how do you use that data to improve your performance?
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
I'll start. You can jump.
Yeah,
So
please,
yeah,
please,
you've got to look at your data. Like we're fortunate. One of our dashboards shows the pipeline, your sales pipeline, and attribution that's occurring across each step of your pipeline. So when I make decisions about how I'm going to modify that process, which, and I say this all the time, your FranDev process is written in pencil, not pen, right? You should change it, and you should change it based upon data. What does the data tell you? Where are people falling out of your funnel? And then you can drive into the why they're falling out of your funnel. But if you don't have the data point to tell, how are you going to know what is working and what isn't working? Back to Dave and Michael, your points before about they come to your show. Oh, your show didn't work. Well, how do you know it didn't work? How you don't have a lead source set up specifically for that show, and then you're not tracking them through your funnel. Maybe they actually did convert. You just don't know. What's the data tell you? You've got to use tools that are at your disposal that can show you where the lead comes from. One of the things that I like is, with Google, you can actually send data back to Google. And what it'll do is it'll follow your lead. So it comes in through Google, goes into your pipeline, goes along. You can then send data back to Google to say, hey, this is where that person dropped from my funnel. Maybe they went all the way to conversion. The more data Google has on your own pipeline, it can then say, oh, this is the lookalike person to that other person that I sent to that person. So now it's going to go and it's going to begin to target individuals that make it deeper into your pipeline. Now the dollars that you're spending on Google ads become that much more efficient, but it's based upon the real live data that's occurring within your system. And if you're not doing that, you're missing out on there's a gap now in your process and your systems. And again, you're spending more per lead, but you're not utilizing the data at your own disposal, your own system has. And if you're using a spreadsheet, there's no way to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, Leanne, please, your show. You ask the questions.
Oh, I was just saying, what metrics do you think are important? So some people get overwhelmed by the data, especially marketing data. Mm-hmm. So what metrics would you recommend that they prioritize?
I'll snag that one for a second, Keith. Like, you've got to know where your leads are coming from. So you've got to have just basic attribution, right? But then you got to have the next layer, which is what's my conversion rate by leads? Like, how many of them are getting to different stages? You want to know, of my leads coming in, how many got to a real conversation? And of those that got to a real conversation, how many move forward, right, and bought a franchise? Basic information like that by lead channel, mission critical, because you have to be able to measure success like we talked about before, and then shift your money around, right? And it'll change constantly. There are only a couple of lead channels that I know that have been consistently high producers for people. Social is actually doing really well for a lot of people who have good targeting and good lookalikes built. But but even social, it'll dip, right? Facebook will change something like they did 18 months ago, and it screwed everybody up. So you have to be monitoring that, because you can then start to see the nosedive and say, okay, take money out of that for now, and let's go stick it over here. I'm going to spend more. I'm going to go another Michael show instead, because that was consistent, right? So you have to be constantly playing the shell game with your money, with the lead source, because you know it's working. And then Keith mentioned this, but I'll just share an anecdote. The company I was helping to run before I came to ClientTether was in the translation localization industry, so language services. We were a Salesforce shop. I was a Salesforce admin. So I know CRMs pretty well. Stood up a few different ones before, but I needed to know at what stage are my leads falling out of the funnel and at what rate. So then I could focus more energy leading the sales organization on the parts of the sales funnel that were failing. Most people just know how many leads came in, how many deals did I do? And that's what the industry kind of measures. And guess what? Y'all are missing a lot of really key things, because you have to be able to measure attrition from one milestone to the next. So new leads into to appointment for an intro call, right? Like, what's that ratio? And then how, if and is it an acceptable ratio? And can I work on that process and then measure my success? And then from intro call to an FDD received, and to FDD, like, you decide whatever those key milestones are, but you got to be able to see how am I tracking and how many people am I losing from milestone to milestone. And then, like Keith mentioned this, but then you focus on the parts of the process where I have the biggest attrition. Okay, how do I get a better contact rate? How do I get more people into that intro meeting? And if you see people are dropping off at a high rate after that intro meeting, then you say, okay, well, what do we need to do in that intro meeting to improve that step so that we have a higher conversion rate into the next milestone? Like, that's truly managing a sales process. You got to have data. Most CRMs actually can't provide it, unless that was, by the way, to get that data 7 years ago is going to be about a $10,000 investment just to get that data from Salesforce. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to be like the best CRM in the world? It really turned me off, but they're just not built for it. They have data in 7 tables scattered everywhere. So you got to have good data, even if you got to pay for it, get the data.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of brands, unfortunately, that aren't tracking the sales funnel, like where people are falling off in the process. So how do you know what's wrong in your process if you don't know where they're falling off?
You don't.
Crazy.
You
This
you go like this and you throw a dart and you go like,
Right.
oh, that must be the issue. Issue's got to be in the front end. So the people, I need a new person there. No,
Right.
the issue is not the person. The issue is what that person's sending. The person's doing a great job. What they send is garbage, right? Or
Right.
they're sending it at the wrong time. The objection is occurring in the prospect's mind here. You're addressing it here. You got to switch things up, right? Like that's it, and it seems so simplistic, but without knowledge of data, you're guessing. The data tells you, it takes the emotion out of it, right? It takes the guesswork out of, is it a person or is it a machine, whatever it is. No, they fall off on this point. For whatever reason, this is a problem. So but you know what? I know if I get them to here, they seem to move. Well, what if I took that call with that individual and I moved it up here? Huh, look at that. Right. And then you retract the data and retract the data and retract the data.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to this because a lot of times beyond the person, it's marketing didn't bring us good leads.
That's always that's the easy
Yeah.
out of sales, right? And
Marketing's
marketing, like, you
yeah.
guys have to close deals. Sales.
It's marketing. Yeah. You didn't bring us good leads. You didn't bring us enough good leads. Like maybe it is the person, or maybe it's the process.
Or
So
maybe you called them 4 hours after they hit submit.
right.
Maybe they're just following the franchise industry playbook, and that's why. Yeah.
Where 30% of your leads were never contacted at all, right? Like
I read a report the other day. I can't remember whose report it was. Maybe it was Reshift. They did a FranDev report. But it said that 79% of people didn't even call their leads back. It's like it was like in the 70s. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh yeah. So Keith just posted. We actually are tracking this data for ourselves, because some of the data I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, it seems a little bit.
Maybe it was you.
Yeah. So it might have been something Keith posted,
Yeah.
but we're doing lead response audits on brands, and we're tracking that data kind of en masse, and it's kind of disgusting. Like,
Right.
I can't. Do you remember what the number was offhand, Keith? It was like almost like 4 out of 5 leads don't even get contacted for at the unit level. That was unit level.
Yeah, we did a unit level audit to see like what's going on at the franchisee level, because
That's what it was.
We're lucky that we have that data too, because we work with so many franchisees of systems, and it was crazy. It was exactly what you said, Dave. Like that was the number. It was, and it's you look at it and you go like, well, no wonder annual unit volumes are down. Your lead flow is fantastic for a brand. You might be doing great brand messaging. Your franchisees are hurting because they're not communicating properly. Maybe they don't have the right tool, or maybe they just don't know how to utilize the tool, or they're afraid to make that phone call because their old job had them sitting behind a counter, right? So, and then oh, by the way, now you've got to go back to your FranDev process too, but that's a whole different conversation, right? But it's all about the data and what it's telling you and where your failure points are. It's okay to look at your failure points and understand what they are. That's actually how you get better.
So the news flash is that it really is marketing's fault.
Oh, yeah, no, it's the lead quality. It's the lead quality that people walking the floor of the shows, Michael. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And sorry, back to Dave's last point where you were saying about, yes, if you haven't, they've moved on. But if you've waited that hour or 2 hours, 9 times out of 10, your competitor is probably good at what they're doing and have called them as well and snatched them, because you're not the only phone call, right? They're making 2 to 3 and saying, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that. You know, geez, I'll tell you this: you send an inquiry to the franchise show, you're getting a call in 2 minutes. Like, send. Whoa, how did you do that? like that's how we work. But yeah,
You know,
crazy.
we all think about it. I had my house power washed on a Saturday morning. I sat down. It was the chore that my wife had given me that I kept blowing off for days and days and days. So I finally, on a Saturday morning, sat down on my computer, Googled and found some people here in Baltimore County, submitted some forms. My phone rang within 3 minutes of me submitting a form. And I walked downstairs and I said, he's sending me a quote. Honey, I don't care what it comes in it. That's who we're using. Because he was on top of it. He knew what to do. The quote came to me in the next 15 minutes. I didn't even do a shopper comparison. And I got a follow-up text from him a month ago, because I did it in June last year. Because again, I was late doing what I was supposed to do. Anyway, that's all a different conversation. But he got the follow-up that said, hey, we did your house last year. Does your house need to be done again? What about your deck and your sidewalk, right? Like, I will use that power washing. Sorry there for a friend of ours out in Nashville who runs a power washing company. There's no location here in my area right now. But anyways, but you know, you're going to utilize that service, right? Why? Because there was connectivity quickly. He handled what I needed to do. He communicated properly. And then once they got here, the job was well done. So
Good.
People forget. If I'm spending my time to research, and then I'm spending my time to read on your website, and then I'm spending my time to put my personal contact info, which I hold pretty dear, into your form, I have a question and a need now. I have a question and a need now. And I mean, if you're not doing this, the good and scary part is we have a lot of clients now. So if you're not doing this, one of your competitors is with us and we're eating your lunch, right? So like, you've also got to think of it that way. Like, there's a little bit of a scarcity and an urgency because we're trying to change the way the industry operates, and it's working really well. And so you have to think in terms of, also, I can't afford to wait 4 hours, because that guy filled out probably three more childcare franchise opportunities. And one of them's probably using a tool that's going to get them on the phone in 30 seconds if they want, right? So you also got to recognize the landscape's changing. And so you got to change your plays, just like when the football offense changed to option, and you know, it wasn't just run. People started doing different things. The whole football industry changed, or NFL, or not NFL, NBA with the 3-point shot or the home runs. Like, if you're not getting a guy that can shoot 3 points well and everybody else is doing it, you're going to suck, right? So recognize the landscape has shifted. And if you're not keeping up, you're going to fall even further behind, because there are less leads that are converting at a lower rate because people aren't following up, or squeeze more out of the orange. You kind of have to decide what you want to do.
Yeah. And so, speaking of shifting and what's working, I know where earlier you had mentioned that texting was, you know, one of the things that seemed to get the most open rates. As far as shifting and compliance, what's changing in the landscape, and how are we navigating?
I'm glad you asked that, Michael. One of the other things that's not being really discussed right now in the industry, which is mission critical. Well, there's texting compliance, TCPA, and the whole TCR campaign registry mess. I'll share a little bit on that. But there's also some net new FCC regulations that go live on January 1. And we're the only people I feel like that are talking about it right now in this industry. It scares me a little bit. It's going to shake things up. So I'll start with FCC stuff, because that's exciting. I'll be brief, but this is important information you got to pay attention to in marketing, and also in your friend of strategy. Because it's going to impact the lead portals. So there's a new 1-to-1 regulation that FCC is rolling out, saying for every lead that you sell to somebody else, that consumer has to have specifically opted in to be sold to that person buying it. I want you to think about that. That is not how the portals work at all today. Today, I won't name any names, any portals, but generally speaking, it's either below the scroll, or there's a process on the back end where there's an opt-in, but it's not a real opt-in, and they're not opting into specific brands that they've said they want to opt into. It's being auto-populated by the platform, and that's no longer going to work. That's violating the FCC's rules, which means lead volumes they could potentially drop by 50% or more. And if you're a lead provider, You got to quickly get in line with this. Talked to somebody recently who does this and is a portal, and they weren't aware that the FCC had spit this rule out. So it was a little bit. It's been announced in January, but a lot of people aren't aware of it. So that's a big one. If you depend upon lead portals for your lead gen, consultants out there listening, a lot of them are emerging brands who don't have the SEO power yet to start generating a lot of organic. You've got to start diversifying your spend, and you got to start building up the assets that will create private channels like your SEO, like your podcast, like your content strategy.
Like
and I
your
know
trade shows.
And trade shows, 100%. People are still going to walk the floor in the trade shows. I haven't forgotten about you, but you need to get a real strategy in place, because that regulatory thing is going to squish the portal volumes. Then there's the texting compliance. I still see in our data we also gather, Leanne, we gather how many forms are TCPA compliant. That is the requirement for someone to be able to be texted from a business, and it's less than 50% of franchise industry forms are compliant. Less than 50%.
Wow.
It's insane. Do you know how much you can get fined if you send a text to somebody who hasn't opted in properly? It's $1,500 per text you send.
Wow.
Whoa.
So yeah, that's massive. It's been this way for a while, but now they're starting to enforce it. There's a third-party group. It's actually the cell phone companies that got together and started to collude, and they got like an FCC sort of blessing. They have a ghost office that's in Northern Virginia that's actually a Kiln office share space. There's no way to contact these people, but now they're regulating and monitoring. And if they and T-Mobile's the freaking worst, by the way. If you're using them, you might find a new provider. I hate them, but they'll just stop delivering text messages and block them, and they won't tell anybody. Or they'll be like, we don't trust that sender. Just randomly like ratchet down their trust score. There's now a trust score on the back end of texting being monitored by the cell phone companies, guys. Through this guise of the TCR, the campaign registry. You have to register each phone number you get. You have to pay them money. You have to, and if they don't like you, if you're young and new, they might give you a trust score of like 16, and then they're going to throttle down your ability to text to consumers. So like there's this whole new landscape that's shifting. Happy to, we don't need to go down the rabbit hole too far, but bear in mind your opt-in has to be compliant. You have to have a by submitting this form, I agree to be contacted via text and email at the number I provided. You have to say messaging rates may apply. You have to say messaging frequency may apply, or may vary. And you have to say, and additional terms may apply. Here's a link to my privacy policy. That all has to be squished into that opt-in statement that has to be usually I recommend between the form fields and the submit button. So it's obvious and it's apparent that they're opting in. You don't have to have check boxes. I would avoid that, because some people uncheck it and you might not be monitoring the compliance very well. So keep it straightforward. But if you don't have that, you're not compliant. You can't text people at all. Not even from your friend as guy's personal cell phone. That's still considered business text, and you can get hammered for that.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Pretty crazy.
That's heavy. But it's also not hard to be compliant, guys. It's not hard. So if we flip this and have a positive conversation, just make sure your forms are compliant. Just make sure you're texting people properly. Your first text has to have an opt-out statement. If you're doing it right, and we automate this, this enforcement in our system. So if somebody says stop, you have to stop texting them. You can't text them back and be like, but are you sure? What if we blah, blah, blah? Nope, $1,500 right there. And you keep texting them. I had a guy text my son like 60 times, and it was the wrong number. And he's like a staffing agency, and we replied stop like 7 times. And I was like, wow. I could actually pay for all of your college with fees that I would get awarded from a court. If I just took him to court, I would immediately settle. He'd have to pay me. And so I called the guy up. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you about this. You're obviously texting the wrong number. We've responded stop multiple times, which means your platform isn't smart enough to know and shut off texting. You better change this, because I bet you're doing this to hundreds of people. You could have millions of dollars of suits at your feet in seconds. I'm not that guy. You're fortunate. But if I were some Karen out of Cali or something, you'd be paying for my kid's college right now. So fix that. He was terrified. He had no idea. He was broadcast texting, shut it off. Like, it's super dangerous right now. If there's no way for you to get a response back and monitor and reply to. Anyway, enough on that, but just a couple of tips. But it's not that hard. You just have to make sure your systems can handle it and your processes handle it. And then you're fine. But walk the line, or you'll get hammered pretty soon.
Wow.
Crazy. I mean, shit, I didn't want those last 10 texts from you, Leanne, so you better pay up.
Reply stop, and then the money's going to start rolling in, Michael. Yeah.
You know he's gonna reply stop to the next thing I text him. And stop.
Cancel. Yeah, F off. Yeah, yeah. I mean, seriously, anything that's a clear indication they don't want to hear from you anymore, unsubscribe, like that kind of stuff. You have to monitor, and make sure
Wow.
you're getting. So, Michael, any of those things will work when you text Leanne.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, this is just good for anyone. I mean, not even necessarily like in general, right? Any kind of sales. Just good information to have, and good to know because I text people all the time. So, great, guys. Well, we can't thank you enough, Dave, Keith. This has been fantastic, as I knew it would be. Leanne didn't think so, but I twisted her arm.
50%. I understand. I get it.
But thank you guys so much for coming on. But we'll put Leanne on the spot for a second here. Leanne, tell us, what did you learn today?
Well, I think I just learned a crap ton about texting compliance, and I think how most people are probably not compliant. That's some really good information, Dave. So thanks for sharing that. But yeah,
That was
good stuff.
amazing.
Yeah.
So if you like what you heard here, as I always say in all of our podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating, a 5-star review. It helps us grow. And subscribe to Spotify, YouTube, and Leanne, did you get us on Apple or anything else yet?
Not yet. Soon.
Okay. So we'll see you in a couple more weeks with unfiltered news, education from both sides of the border. No Karens from Cali here. In the meantime, here's what's on the calendar in our final segment. We've got Franchise Mingle brought to you by the National Franchise Show. And the National Franchise Show has a bunch of events coming up. Stateside, we have Tampa and Philly in September. We have Atlanta and Jacksonville in October. And we have Los Angeles in November. If anyone is expanding in any of those markets, feel free to reach out. We also have franchise shows on the Canadian side of the border, a whole bunch, Toronto and some really great cities. I won't bore you with that. We also have the IFA Advocacy Summit happening in September, Franchise Springboard happening in Philly in September. Our friends at FBR, Michelle, Rowan, September 18th and 20th in Philly. No, sorry, that's in Denver, October 20th and 24th. And then, of course, Let's Grow Canada, where we're going to see Dave and Keith. Super excited. Sponsorship and registration is now open. November 6th and 7th in Toronto. And finally, save the date for Let's Grow Dallas, which is happening February 2nd through to the 4th. Registrations are now open. And we're also taking on sponsorships. Man, that seemed like a lot of plugs for ourselves, Leanne. We're going to have to change that.
I mean, we have a private channel, just like Dave told us to do. So we can do whatever we want.
Stop. No, we can tell you to stop. Yeah, keep it up.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry,
All
Keith.
right.
What was you going to say there, Keith? Jump in. Spit it out.
You said Springboard, you said FBR, you said other words. So
Right.
There you go.
You spread it out a little bit. Like you gave the love.
Are you guys going to be at all of those?
We had Springboard, FBN in Denver, but not FBR this time. I would like to go, but just travel schedule is not going to permit to
It's
do
a
it.
lot.
And budgets, but
Yeah.
I've heard it's a good show. FLDC, we'll have some people at some of your events as well, Michael, that you mentioned. So we're going to be all over. EFC, got some brand shows we got to go to. So it's a busy fall.
Yeah, it's busy for everyone. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you at Toronto and Dallas for sure. And this episode is brought to you by Tenant Financial Group, Settle Strauss, the National Franchise Show, and Franchise Assembly. See you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.